All right, let's see who we got. Cindy D with First Blood. Good morning, sunshine. Striker, yes, your text is visible. I see you. How you doing this morning? All right. So I'm gonna try to keep it short this morning. Uh I'm gonna try to keep it to the half hour this morning. Uh Maybe even a little shorter because I've got some contractors coming in, and similarly, because of that, if there happens to be a little extra noise, I've actually got the studio doors open this morning, uh, so that hopefully I can hear the contractors when they pull up. In fact, let me. I need to add a little extra step there because y'all know I am stone deaf without my hearing aids on. So let me get the studio monitor in. I see His Majesty joins us this morning. Good morning. Good morning. So, little bit of housekeeping before we get into the American Pravda that we're going to be talking about this morning. Which, guys, I know we've already beat the dog shit out of the revelations from USAID, and the hits just keep on coming. We're going to dig into that in a minute. I got a couple of stories I want to relate to you real quick. So we live way out in the country. It's starting to warm up a little bit, and well, the wife heard some mice. Thought she heard a mouse. Thought she heard a mouse. So I got some traps, and the traps I got, actually, I should pull those up and show them to you in a minute. They're these. They're like $9 for 6 on Amazon, and I tell you the truth, they're freaking amazing. I was really pleasantly surprised with them because they're super easy to deploy, and well, I caught 5 mice last night, and I mean, they are no more. I fed them to the local possum. So here's Stryker says by contractors. You don't mean Blackwater? No, unfortunately, Stryker, I'm not doing that kind of contracting today. There's a link for the badass mouse traps, and it's these. You know, you deploy them like little paper clips, and they've got the little bait cup in them. And what's really cool about them is they get the mouse before the mouse finishes the bait cup. So you just click it open and set it back down. I caught 2 mice on the same trap in 2 separate places. So, and then there were no more mice in the traps this morning. So I think we're good. But I mean, we in the country, it's part of the business. The other thing, so we have a thing around my house because of my bad ears. If I'm just got out of the shower, or I just came in the house from the studio, and sometimes I'll take my headphones off and I'll run inside the house, get a little more coffee, go to the bathroom, whatever, and I know I'm just running in and out, so I don't put my hearing aids in. I can't hear shit. So this is actually something that was the product of a conversation the wife and I had years ago. If I missed it, because okay, so here's the real problem with it. Hard of hearing. If the wife says something, like just cracks a joke, just says something that's not important, and I didn't catch it, I'll say again, what? I didn't catch it. And then she'll say, it doesn't matter, it doesn't matter, never mind, whatever. And I'm like, and it would get frustrating for both of us. So we've got this thing, right? If I missed it, I just say, I love you too. And that's it. She knows I didn't hear what she said. I know she knows that I didn't hear what she said. And if she doesn't feel the need to repeat herself, then we don't have to have an argument about it. So the kids, apparently yesterday, the wife was talking to our second daughter, Penny, about something, and Penny just wasn't paying attention. And then all of a sudden, Penny realized that Mommy was talking to her, and she goes, "Oh, I love you too." And it was very funny. Cameron says, T-Rex traps, use those professionals. Dude, they're fantastic. Like they got her done. And I even found like a no shit mouse hole in the wall. Like, need to get a cat named Tom. Not that he ever had any real success with it. So a couple anecdotes aside and a little housekeeping. It's going to keep the show a little short this morning, like I said, because I'm expecting some contractors like any minute now. And I want to start with, where is it? I had articles from Politico. So Politico was running, it would help if I was sharing the screen, wouldn't it? Politico has been running some articles the last few days about DOGE, basically running hit pieces against DOGE for the last few days. Like 2 Dem lawmakers barge into House Speaker's office. White House, latest news, top stories, playbook, Trump's massive power grab. From, right. That's from a week ago. And, so here's the article from DOGE from a week ago. Okay, I got to push so many damn buttons just to share the screen. There. Playbook, Trump's massive power grab. Reshaping the state. Tens of billions of dollars in federal grants and loans to organizations across America will be halted today after yet another bombshell order from the White House. A brief 2-page memo, first published last night by New York-based journal Marissa Cabas, and swiftly matched by WAPO Politico, Reuters, and others, revealed the next step in Donald Trump's warp-speed overhaul of the U.S. state, an immediate freeze on all federal grants and loans to outside bodies which may not align with the president's worldview. Now, when they say may not align with the president's worldview, let's be clear. The U.S. through USAID and several other organizations, has been funding terrorist activities. And when I say terrorist activities, I'm not a Democrat, right? I'm not throwing some hyperbolic nonsense about stochastic terrorism because, all Catholics are actually dangerous domestic terrorists. No, I mean direct funding to Al-Qaeda and Boko Haram, to revolutionary operations in Syria, directly funding foreign terrorist activity. So there's Politico whinging about the idea of the government shutting down the funding of terrorism. Well, it turns out we're also shutting down some other funding. But let's take a look at how that's being presented before we look at the real facts, right? Waller points out also known as non-appropriated funds. Yeah, we talked about that a lot yesterday. Basically, USAID was the slush fund to fund all the operations that government agents and black ops groups want to conduct that are so shady and intolerable that, quite frankly, the president wouldn't have agreed to it. MAGA influencers. So this is from Mediaite. Now, y'all know Mediaite. This is a left-wing shill fish wrapper, right? MAGA influencers push bizarre claim that Politico was getting funded by USAID. Here's the truth. Okay, spoiler alert. This is the truth. And they're going to try to quibble on it a little bit. Pitt Danny points out the New York Times also got money. Turns out, basically, almost categorically, if you were writing anti-Trump propaganda for a major publication since he first came down the escalator, you were being funded with U.S. taxpayer dollars against their will. That's right, guys. What could be more American, right? As Republicans, as conservatives, we are patriotic. We are American. Now take a moment and look at the situation in Israel and Gaza, or take a look at the situation in Ukraine and Russia, right? What is more American than funding both sides of a conflict involuntarily? Turns out, if you're a conservative, that's what you've been doing, right? If you're a Democrat, a liberal, then since JFK, basically, whether you give or not, you've been funding the Democrat machine, right? Whether you know it or not. Right? It's like my dad used to say, I don't play the lottery, and my granddad used to tell him, yeah, you do, son, every week, right? So for years and years, decades, if you were a Democrat, you were funding your party, whether you knew it or not, because U.S. tax dollars were being funneled to do that, right? We've talked on this show many times before about the difference between left-wing organizations and right-wing organizations, especially left and right-wing activist organizations, right? Sometimes you'll hear one of the geniuses on the left, like AOC, talk about how we need to defund the NRA. No American tax money should go to fund this terrorist organization. The NRA is like, whoa, hold on a second, honey. Funny story there. Whatever your opinion of the NRA is, most of us who are actual gun rights people, we're not super warm on the NRA. They have not been as effective as we would like them to have been. There are better organizations out there, but in their defense, and this is the case with all right-wing organizations, it's a privately funded organization. The NRA's money, the NRA's funding comes entirely from its member base, right? They sell products, they sell services, and they sell memberships, right? You can buy NRA memorabilia, paraphernalia. I think that's an NRA branded pocket knife in that box on the wall there, right? Privately funded. So even if the NRA, which it does, funds campaigns, political campaigns, which it does, it's doing that with money that it either earned through sales and services or through fundraising through the membership. And NRA members make voluntary donations for that purpose. I'm a lifetime NRA member. I have learned more about them and moderately regret that choice, but I am a lifetime NRA member, have been for 15 years. But when you look at left-wing activist organizations like Planned Parenthood, for example, right? That's probably the clearest example. The organization is directly funded by taxpayer dollars, right? Planned Parenthood is taxpayer funded and then funnels that money back into Democrat campaigns. If you are an organization that receives federal dollars, and you as an organization or your employees with the earnings from their work at your organization are then making donations to a political campaign, then what you're doing is you are funneling U.S. taxpayer dollars back into political campaigns. Waller asks, are we going to find USAID money going to NRA? Boy, that would be hilarious. It's not going to happen. I think it's pretty clear that the people making those funding decisions are emphatically opposed to the Second Amendment. But Yeah, that's it would be hilarious, Waller, but it's not happening. Um, yeah, okay. Alex says, but Bill Kristol is a conservative and he was getting USAID money. That, I mean, sure, we can argue about whether or not Bill Kristol is a conservative or not. He's not. I mean, you might as well try and make the argument that that Bush the Lesser was a Republican. I mean, or Mitt Romney was a Republican. Sure, you can waste your time on that argument if you want to, Alex, but it's silly and sloppy. But almost without exception. In fact, I'm glad you brought up the Bill Kristol example because that actually serves to help bolster my point. Bill Kristol has been emphatically anti-Trump, emphatically anti-MAGA, right? And he styles himself as a conservative, but he's being paid with USAID money in the same way that other anti-Trump, anti-MAGA, anti-American propaganda machines are. I think that what you really just said, Alex, is that Bill Kristol has been irrevocably exposed as black propaganda. He's basically a professional false flag propaganda artist that is paid by the enemies of the United States of America to aid and facilitate in her sabotage and destruction. Because that's what's been happening with the whole Politico thing. They've been paid with your tax money to sabotage the American people and the constitutional rule of law. So, according to Mediaite, MAGA influencers pushed bizarre claim that Politico was getting funded by USAID. Okay, the claim is based on evidence. We'll review that in a minute. Here's the truth. MAGA influencers pushed erroneous claims Wednesday that Politico was being funded by United States Agency for International Development, mistaking subscriptions to the outlet's editorial product for grants. Oh, they weren't grants, they were subscriptions? I have a question. I see names in my chat right now of people who I know because I get a report. I know many of you have bought me a coffee. www.buymeacoffee.com/brushfiremind, right? Keeps this cup full and hot. That is a subscription. Now, most of you that have a subscription, our subscription model is totally up to you, right? You can go over there and buy me one coffee for $5, or you can commit to spend $1 a month or $5 a month, however you want to do it. But the point is, that's a subscription. And I use that to make coffee and to update the cameras occasionally. Some of the building material to put the set dressing together, that kind of thing. That's funding. That's the revenue. That's the revenue source. Right? They're trying to make a distinction here. This is one of those things like, Snopes comes out, and Tim Pool always likes to describe it. Snopes comes out and says, the claim Donald Trump did a backflip. And then fact checks it. Fact check false. Donald Trump did not do a backflip on Sunday. Nobody said he did it on Sunday. They said he did it. In fact, they said he did it on Saturday. In fact, they said it was before Sunday that they said he did it. Oh, no. So even that right there, that's just a lie. There were U.S. and it makes a different point than they think it's making. It's actually worse than that. Because what you've got is over some period, Politico is one of many outlets that sells a special subscription. So most of these outlets will have a subscription you can buy to get behind the paywall and read extra articles and exclusive content, yada yada yada. And those subscriptions are $5, $10, $20 a month, depending on the outlet. But apparently, there's a super duper subscription. In fact, we should call it the Golden Toilet Seat Edition for these various press outlets. That's anywhere between $3,000 and $15,000. $3,000 to $15,000 subscriptions, and more than one government agency or department, right? So it wasn't just USAID. It's just that finding it in USAID was the tip of the iceberg that exposed the rest of the corruption. Have multiple hundreds of these subscriptions. The 8.1 million that Politico received is just what Politico received from specifically from the here it is. So many buttons. Is the 8.1 million is just what they received from the USA spending report. So any of the other entities that also funded them are not accounted for in that money. Becker then tied Musk's closure of USAID offices and halt of funding to a payroll glitch at Politico on Tuesday that meant its staff did not receive their paycheck on time. The technical error was later fixed, says Mediaite. Okay, listen. We've done this. It is correct to say that causation is not guaranteed by correlation. That is correct. But your midwits shitlibs, because they can't understand nuance when a tautology will do, and they can't understand a tautology when nuance is incorrect, right? So they love to say causation is not, or correlation is not causation. Correlation doesn't equal causation. No, it doesn't. It doesn't equal causation. However, neither does it obviate causation. Correlation does, in fact, suggest causation. Right? One can make reasonable inferences. If there's a ball sitting at the corner pocket and you bump the table with your butt cheek and the ball rolls into the pocket, you might say, I wasn't cheating. Correlation doesn't equal causation. You can't prove that me bumping the table with my butt cheek caused that ball to roll in that hole. Maybe it was because Barry over there opened that door coming in from the street and a puff of wind just happened to come by at the same time. Shut the fuck up. Correlation does not guarantee causation, but neither does it obviate it. Correlation does, in fact, like this is the principle from which we extract the legal concept of probable cause or reasonable articulable suspicion. Right? Just because I see you standing outside the broken window with a crowbar does not guarantee that you broke the window with a crowbar. It could be that you were crowbarring some shit around the corner, heard the window break, and came around to investigate. But you know what? You and the crowbar and the broken window is enough correlation to justify me looking at the video to see if that causal link exists. It is certainly not a reason to to avoid investigation, to avoid interrogation. Causation may not be guaranteed by correlation, but it is absolutely suggestive of it. So, Cameron, I'm sorry, man, I haven't even gotten to the topic with your tweet. I want to get back over to here we go. So this is from the Giller report, massive media scandal. USAID funding for Politico, New York Times, Reuters, AP, BBC, et al. BBC. Okay. The Associated Press is a bit of a global phenomenon. You know, you can make an argument about whether or not they're directly American. Politico, New York Times, Reuters, directly American. But the BBC is emphatically not an American organization. Y'all remember that Jankowicz chick that sang the weird DEI song and headed up the Biden administration's briefly lived Ministry of Truth? Turns out she moved over to London and is running a U.S. government-funded, through USAID and other U.S. government sources, censorship machine, which does this. We talked about this a little bit the other day. They have cultivated a bunch of YouTubers who are using intentional misleading aesthetics, right? So you get a big burly guy like me in a fucking plaid shirt chopping wood, right? That'll be the video. And then he'll just all of a sudden stop and talk about how important trans inclusivity is. It's a trap. A trap's gay. Okay? It's a trap. And turns out what they've been doing with that money, Nina Jankowicz and her crew, now based out of London, are buying ads in a special way to upcycle the algorithmic recommendation of these trap videos to achieve a few things. For one, it injects their message into the conversation where somebody isn't looking for it. Like if you're looking into homesteading stuff and trying to figure out how to build a rain catch water tower so that you don't have to deplete your well water to water your garden in the front yard, well, I can go out on a limb here and say that at least in this moment while you're watching this video about that topic, you're not interested in a conversation about trans activism. Maybe kind of, right? But that's one of the things that they've been doing with that. So we see this article. On Tuesday, staffers at Politico were notified that a technical error had prevented paychecks from going out. Many joked that this had something to do with the Trump administration putting a freeze on USAID funding. Correlation does not guarantee causation. However, Politico suddenly had their government funding shut off. And for apparently, as it's being reported, for the first time ever, their payroll system glitched. Now, I don't know if Politico has never missed payroll before, or those details are a little bit clear, but it's either that they've never missed payroll before, or that this particular payroll system, which they've been using for I don't know how long, has never failed. Right? It might be that that they had a glitch before with a different payroll system, but as it's being reported, this glitch is especially suspicious because it has never happened in this way before, and it just happened to coincide with the shutdown of the government funding for Politico. So basically, at the end of the day, what we're looking at, I need to go ahead and wrap this up. What we're looking at is the U.S. government And when we say the U.S. government, bear with me while I try and organize these thoughts, because there's so much. Y'all, the news cycle is absolutely crazy right now, and there's so much to try and braid together and understand what's going on. But you look at the news cycle right now, you look at what's happening with all the Democrat senators and Congress people are out protesting, and their hair is on fire, and the USAID audit shutdown, et cetera, is the worst thing that ever happened. And you're not seeing a bunch of Republicans involved in that. And it very much looks like what has happened is the Democrat Party, who opened and obviously conducted a coup against the United States of America in 2020, conducted unspeakable levels of obstruction against the duly elected president throughout his entire first administration, are currently claiming that they intend to continue to do that, right? Their hair is on fire because their dirty money slush fund is being shut down. They've been operating a shadow government, stealing your money, spending it with the explicit intent to cause you harm. And a large piece of this, it's not just the general sabotage. This is the Cloward-Piven strategy in application. The more we study this, I've pointed out before that the U.S. national debt is roughly, not exactly identical, but roughly equivalent to the amount that we've spent on the welfare state since its induction under LBJ. Right, so LBJ created the welfare state, and the result, here 60 years later, is frankly the welfare state is the national debt. They're almost an identical. They are an almost identical figure. I think we're at about 20. Is it 37 trillion? I haven't looked at the debt clock this morning. It's bad. Well, the Cloward-Piven strategy is the idea that you're going to overwhelm the government and the economy by flooding the welfare state and government services, basically with intentional fraud, waste, and abuse, in order to cause it to collapse so that you can come in and replace it with your grand unified communist activity. It looks very much to me like that's essentially what USAID has been doing since JFK stroked that executive order. Yes, USAID has been in operation since JFK and appears to have only ever been essentially a money laundering operation to fund the kinds of things that the Democrat Party wants to do, but they know that the president, even their Democrat presidents, would never sign off on. And a lot of it, you can infer a great deal of nefarious intent here, but by and large, when you look at the long list of abusive things that they've been doing that are just bizarre, right? Transgender studies in foreign countries, money for the transgender Sesame Street build, a lot of trans, a lot of gay stuff, a lot of LGBT stuff, a lot of promoting sexual deviance in foreign countries, a lot of promoting sexual deviance in this country. Obviously, the funding for the New American Pravda in the New York Times and Politico, et cetera, et cetera. Yeah, there's a lot of nefarious stuff that you can infer from that. But at the end of the day, it looks like it's basically the Cloward-Piven strategy in practice. Good morning, dear, and thank you.
It's time.
I love you. I am about to wrap it up.
Okay.
Best wife ever. All right. Actually, that completely derailed my train of thought. So I'm going to go ahead and put a pin in it there, guys. I appreciate you. That's all I've got for you this morning. Like I mentioned earlier, I've got some contractors showing up, so I need to probably ought to go put pants on. I'm still in my pajamas. You see. So yeah, thanks for watching this morning, guys. We love you, and we will see you tomorrow. Oh, for Firearms Friday. We'll see you tomorrow for Firearms Friday.